obviously we have to get there, right? Because we're not because and I can't really get into spoilers about it, but we see part of the nightmare scene. We're kind of brought back from that a little bit, and we get this ending to Justice League that is this other thing, and I feel like, man, by the time that we ever get a Justice League 2, we'll start off obviously where Justice League 3 ends, which is not in this necessarily this horrible place. It's still that premonition. It's still that idea of this is to come. So you have to tell that story. I think that what you're saying is like they do some stuff. They take some stuff. So that's how you intro your movie, that they're being the Justice League. They're doing that, but you're probably not going to get a full movie of that because that's not the arc. Like if they were trying to do the Marvel thing, okay, now Marvel would definitely do that because that's what Marvel has done, where it's like Marvel, they're like, hey, we're going to get way out here one day, but for now, we're gonna give you whole movies where nothing really progresses. It's like you get 5-10 minutes of actual progression just so that hey, that big Avengers movie is still coming one day. Where I think with Zach's thing is like, hey, I got 5 movies. Whatever anybody else does besides my 5 movies, that's on them. They can tell all those stories. They can tell all those great, superhero stories where everybody's together and doing their thing. But for now, this is my progression. So in the next movie, you get this start, probably. I would see it as a natural thing. You get this start, they're doing their thing. Maybe they have a couple of adventures, they save a few things. Maybe they face a character. I think there was what was it? There was one Justice League thing. It might have been the first episode of Justice League Unlimited or something like that, where like Starro comes and like you find them mid battle, like they're fighting Starro, or some kind of weird thing, that the Justice League is doing, that's some kind of lighthearted thing. And then no, you know what it was? Was it Apocalypse War? Was it that movie? I think that maybe starts off with Starro,
the Justice League fighting Starro, really? I think maybe there was a little scene of it or something. You might be right.
It kind of starts off with this lighthearted thing, like, hey, here's the Justice League. They're fighting all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, all hell breaks loose, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, we're thrust into the middle of this very serious thing, and so so I could see that, and then that I see that, then obviously the bottom drops out, and we find out how it deteriorated into the nightmare.
Yeah, I got you, man. But there can only be one. Let's be real about it. If we're gonna have Justice Leagues in the cinema, and I'm not quite there with Restore the Snyderverse in terms of Snyder being in control of the DCEU like he was, like being the architect of the DCEU. I'm certainly up for seeing sequels to this movie, to this directed by Snyder and seen in IMAX. I want to see this film in IMAX, and I think it will make a lot of money actually if they put it in IMAX.
The only thing I would say about that, man. Yeah, the only thing that I would say about that is like, look, so when I say restore the Snyderverse, my first yes, Film Gob is here. What's up, Film Gob? By the way, Film Gob, man, at the center of everything that's going on, man. Always love seeing you on there last night, man. What a moment to behold from the inside, for sure. I'm sure for you. We talked about it tonight. I'd love to talk to you about that. But okay, so what was I saying?
You were saying about the restoring the Snyderverse.
Oh yeah, so with restoring, my first priority is allow Zack Snyder to finish his versions of Justice League 2 and 3, whatever that is, whether it's actual 2 movies to finish out this thing and then step back, or whether it's a mini series or 2 mini series or whatever, special series, whatever. Do that. That's my number one priority. Although I will say this, it's not necessarily my stance that like Zack Snyder has to run the DCEU. But I will say this. I'm also not against the idea of him having creative input into. Look, first of all, I will say I'm not against Zack Snyder having that kind of creative control and kind of being the Feige. I don't think that he wants to do that, though. To be honest with you, I don't think
he was doing it before, though. Like that's the thing.
He was, but he was doing it over his 5 films. He would, he will produce, right? And I guess that's what I'm saying. Like I would rather see him do like what happened to the movie Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, that first movie is a far superior film.
Wonder Woman 84 is my
least Wonder Woman 84 without Zack Snyder's direct input and oversight.
So there's a little bit of controversy with that, because basically Zack Snyder helped on that movie for about 3-4 days, but Alan Heinberg actually came to him with the story. And then actually, like it or not, Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins really, like, after basically Alan Heinberg put in the final draft, was Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins who reworked the script to what we see in the movie now. So yeah, Snyder had influence, but like that was Patty's movie. Patty just made one good movie and made one bad movie. That's basically what happened. It happens to the best of us. Snyder made The Watchmen, he made Sucker Punch. I know you might like Sucker Punch, but like that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes you have one good one. It's like saying Nolan was responsible for The Man of Steel. It's not. I just don't.
But hold on. Though we're finding out more and more that it absolutely was Nolan that had a huge input and influence on the fact that Zack Snyder was able to make.
Yeah, he was able to make it.
But that's what he was doing, though. But that's the thing is he was being a producer. So Nolan was absolutely a hands-on producer for that. And look, Zach was definitely a producer and a huge influence on that first Wonder Woman movie.
I think he's an influence. I think he's an influence in the sense that I think Patty Jenkins probably liked what Zack Snyder was doing and wanted to take certain aspects of that.
Exactly, because it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious because it's pretty obvious once it was thought that Zach was not continuing and Jeff Johns had more of a role in that production value and being able to influence where the DCEU was going with this more lighthearted, kind of thing. You go from literally Wonder Woman being back in World War I and basically taking on a whole army by herself, like manhandling people and taking on Ares, the god of war, and being willing to do what needs to be done to win that fight. And then her also in BVS saying, look, I've fought things from other planets before. Like I ain't scared of nothing. Like she's willing, slicing and dicing, right? And then obviously, we can't get into all the stuff that we just saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but that's a true back to true form. You also saw the Crimean War stuff that Zack originally envisioned, where she was definitely a warrior goddess, where she was definitely like she had no qualms about being an Amazonian. But then, look, I liked Wonder Woman 84. I liked Wonder Woman 84, and I defended Wonder Woman 84. Jarbo and I actually have a debate that we did, and some of it is tongue in cheek for me, where I was kind of giving Jarbo a hard time, and we kind of did it. But I enjoyed it. But when you look at it and you do that, and then all of a sudden, like in the 80s, because it's the 80s, she's like, well, I'm not going to fight you with a sword. I'm going to beat you with love.
But that is Wonder Woman. Look, my problem with Wonder Woman 1984.
Wonder Woman hasn't been written like that.
Wait. I read a lot of Wonder Woman.
No, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying that's not Wonder Woman.
But wait. Let me just. I get the interpretation that Patty was going for, but she didn't do her research. I know for a fact she didn't go and read the comics, because if she read the comics and understood the nature of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is never a defensive fighter, for instance. She never like has to, she just goes straight on and goes through people. But in terms of the lasso and not using the sword and shield, I was fine with that. But I don't need her swinging around everywhere and doing all of that Spider-Man bullshit. She fights impact, and yes, she may try not to hurt people, but she'll do it in style. And that's the problem. That's what was lacking.
Hey, man.
Like in the, what's it called? The White House.
Wait
scene.
1 second.
She should have been.
So I'm going to be
reacting to this.
I'm going to be reacting to this, but I'm also going to be talking about Ezra Miller. What I wanted to do is actually use this as a kind of platform to talk about the current state of the DC and what's happened since, given the nature of what our conversation. So best way to do it, we can listen to this and so that just to the end, it's not that much longer. But if you want to stop to comment on anything, you can comment on it. Like if I say something foolish, given where things are now, I'm more than happy for you.
Well, I mean, you're mainly talking about the Snyderverse, or are you just your opinion
in this? Yeah, because I wanted to put up my review from my other channel of Zack Snyder's Justice League, but also this conversation. Because I thought it was interesting, given what's happening.
Well, I mean, I didn't have nothing to criticize or anything. It's just your opinion. I mean,
yeah. How are you, buddy? I hope everything's cool.
Pretty good. I mean, there's
you out there spreading your Ezra Miller hate.
Oh yeah.
On Twitter.
No, it's just it's insane.
About that.
Yeah, it's just listen, I'm not. The big allegations are still, to be proven false or true. All right, that's fine. But half of the other allegations, though, and some pretty serious ones. And
which one do you think that was proven in a court of law that it was 100%?
Well, there were
Ezra
a few.
Miller's fault.
There were a few, and honestly, I forgot at this point because it's a bit uninteresting to me. But there's been, ones where they have just said with the law that they've proven, and he's been charged for just certain incidents that he pretty serious, and he needs to get some help for to not do it again. So because of that, I'm just weirded out by people calling him completely innocent. It's the big ones, all the crazy stuff are still to be proven, but because of that stuff, it just baffles me how people are trying to call him completely innocent and starting this hashtag Ezra Miller is innocent and saying that he shouldn't go to rehab.
Oh, of course he should. But let me ask you this question. It's a twofold question. If Ezra Miller had done something to someone, right, but they decide not to press charges, is that any of our business? Is it still any of our... they decided, they're the victim, apparently, of it, and they decide not to press charges.
I mean,
for whatever reason. Maybe even, it was a little spat that they had, and now they're friends again. So...
Yeah, well, that's honestly tough. I don't know, 50-50 on that. I believe that also kind of happened with, Ray Rice, didn't it, with a person he punched.
It's me and you have a fight, right? Right? And I'm a famous person or you're a famous person.
Yeah, I mean, I would drop the charges. Yeah, probably.
Right. We drop the charges because the next day we're
yeah, but it depends
we're actually friends, right?
Yeah, but it depends with certain things. I don't know, but we don't know those certain things. So we don't know, so it's hard. But it's just there are many. I know there was an incident today. I rewatched this guy just on roid rage, beating up this woman, and she tried to drop the charges not because he she tried saying it it's her fault, even though clearly what just either peer pressure, victim pressure, or just
here's my problem.
Stuff that.
Here's my problem. It seems like there's a contingency of people who really, I mean, for a long time, for their own reasons, want him to be guilty and want this Flash movie not to come out.
Well, it's going to come out anyway. So,
and they're using these kind of incidents, and they're blowing them not out of proportion. I think the guy needs help, and I think the guy needs to. He really does need to go to rehab and face some consequences.
Well, that's why I say,
done.
Even if the big ones are guilty or not, he needs to go to rehab, and I think it's just best if he drops all roles at the moment.
Yeah, of course, I agree with you there completely. But at the same time, nothing he's done, nothing till this point that he has done, in my mind, is deserving of any kind of cancelling. Any kind of cancelling. Like let's take the actual things that we can say. I'm 90% sure that he did that, right? Mm-hmm. So he's in a party. He doesn't throw a chair at a woman. He throws a chair which hits a woman. The woman then, and here's the important thing, the woman then says she doesn't want to press charges. Yeah. That equals none of our business.
Yeah, I don't think that one was that bad. But yeah, again, the canceling stuff, I don't agree with, or painting him as bad.
So then there's this incident where I do think this is the worst thing, and I think really, like, Warner Brothers needs to give some kind of consequences for this. But even still, it was like this thing where with the woman in Iceland, where you see that he's apparently choking some woman or something like that.
That video was really strange.
And it's a really strange video because there's no way the woman was hurt. There's no way it wasn't like he was sitting like there, like beating on the woman or something like that. He kind of gently put her to the ground, but you don't do that. You don't put your hands on someone. You don't put them to the ground. You don't do any of that to a woman or man that you don't know. But the facts of the matter is, again, we are only relying on media coverage of that event and I believe most of what I've been hearing about the media coverage about what happened at the bar from the sources. I see no reason for them to lie. And again, where there's smoke, there's fire. But from what we've heard of them, that still doesn't prove necessarily, even though I believe it, that still doesn't prove his guilt. We don't know the context of what happened.
When it comes to like the serious ones, there's nothing proven yet.
There's some weird mitigating circumstance that none of us know about, including that he was going through some kind of breakdown or something like that, right? Like where he wasn't acting as he usually does, or as they usually do, right? So there's that. And then all the other allegations have just been a cycle of, like, oh, now Ezra Miller's in the news. We know that we can get clicks on our channel for doing some kind of Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller's in trouble with the police.
Oh, yeah, you can do that with old things. Like, I know MSK's made like fucking 15 videos on that.
Right. So, again, once you get caught up in that cycle, then people are looking. They're on a fishing expedition to get you. And then there are some of those things that they're trying to get him on, which I'm genuinely concerned about. And again, I really think Warner Brothers needs to investigate this guy and find out if any of these are true. But none of them are substantiated as of yet. The grooming allegation isn't substantiated.
That one I don't believe.
I don't disbelieve.
I can believe like the giving
I look for evidence.
Weed and stuff to like a minor, which I mean, I get why some people like might not think of it as that bad or like just but I'm sorry, you cannot do that with a minor. It's still bad. I don't care what the context is. Like the fact people trying to defend that, like, what do you mean? She's living the life, or you're just hanging out with Ezra. That just makes me sick. But whatever. There's biases on both sides. Again, like on Twitter, don't take anything really that I say too much on there seriously. I literally just shit post it to try to piss off the most toxic fanboys.
we will go through some of those discussions.
But yeah, there's
later.
two extreme biases. We have the one there, just stick riding him, and those are mainly just people I don't know at all, just that I come across on YouTube. And then there's the people who, are really trying to crucify him hard, which I also don't agree with. Like they're trying to,
this
thinking he's already guilty.
about...
And the reason why I don't tweet about that or anything, for to poke fun at it and try to piss off toxic fanboys is because those people, actually know. So I don't want to make anybody mad, even though I'm not serious. But I don't really agree with that either.
I don't like this guilty until proven innocent. I've never liked that in any situation, no matter who it is, whether it's Arnie Hammer or this guy or anybody. This guilty until proven innocent bullshit has to stop.
It's always hypocrisy, though. It's like they'll say that with like other things, but a lot of people we know, but then they'll say that about that, and then other people in other communities, like Enosh is cool, and other people are cool, no problem with them. But there are other people in the communities who, again, cool, I'm no problem with it, but it's like, but they'll say like, okay, let's wait till the facts come out, with Ezra, but then they'll automatically say something. Josh Whedon is automatically guilty, even though there's
exactly. Josh Whedon, Jeff Johns is ultimately is guilty.
It's absolutely insane.
With absolutely no proof. But
it's
Ezra
hilarious
Miller,
just to poke fun out of all of it. It's hilarious.
Sure. So just to say, Daniel Martin says, people keep being hyperbolic over his actions. He was in a nightclub and he lunged at someone. What exactly is lunge? That's so open to interpretation. Daniel, that's part of what I have a problem with the accusations there. But at the same time, again, where there's smoke, there's fire. Too much of this now has, I can't believe that this one person keeps having these similar accusations over and over again, even though I do agree that some YouTube channels are taking advantage of it. It's like every time Ezra Miller, takes a crap nowadays, somebody's there willing to make a YouTube video on it, right? Like he gets a felony charge for apparently stealing beer from his neighbor's house. Cancel him. He's fucking evil. See, I told you. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, wasn't there one incident where they found bullets on a field and they tried saying that had something to do with it?
But Nerd Man, that's only because he's news.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It could, Amber Heard could do the same thing and they'll make a video of it because it'll get some clicks. It has nothing to do with Ezra Miller as a person. It has to do with Ezra Miller as clickbait. That's it.
Right. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, I don't disbelieve any of these accusations against him, but I don't necessarily believe, just what I'm, because somebody like Andy Signor decides like, I know the real inside story or something like that, or like any of these guys. It's just like, let there be, either there's a court case where people charge him with particular crimes, and we go through that due process of him being on trial. Or if they decide not to charge him, they shut the fuck up. If they don't want to charge him with any particular crime, if there's victims out there or whatever who say, oh, we just want to talk to news and YouTubers and blah, blah, blah. If that's what they want to do, then that for me is just, it's out of order. That's outrageous. And nobody should be, encouraging that kind of thing, right? If you've got a problem with someone, that somebody's done something criminal against you, you go to the police and you go through that means. That's it. If you drop the charges for whatever reason, then that's your problem. That person, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of their job or what they do, is secure until there's been a criminal charge against them. That's
but
my
that's not
opinion
fair,
on it.
nerd man, because you can get fired because you said something mean to somebody. I mean, it has nothing to do with a criminal charge. Like there's not so much now, but I mean, somebody digs up a post you did 10 years ago, and if you're a comedian, you're being canceled. And there's nothing to do with criminal charges. It has to do with appeasing the mob.
Kevin Hart.
So
yeah, Kevin Hart's a good example.
Yeah, no, but there's different levels to this. But what I'm talking about is what specifically Ezra Miller has been accused of in the media. I don't see anything that is reaching the level where you're like, oh my god, we've got to refilm a $200 million fucking movie and replace this fucking guy, or just cancel or scrap a $200 to $250 million movie. I don't see that yet. I don't see that yet. Now with Kevin Spacey, I don't know enough about what happened with Kevin Spacey, just by the way, film elitist.
Because they didn't show up to court. The victims accusing him, they didn't really show up to court because of certain reasons. So
I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I do know that one of the accusations, at least, was with a minor who was at a party that was for older, for over 21s essentially, and there Kevin Spacey came on to him or something like that. And if what the guy is saying is true, I agree that Kevin Spacey was wrong for touching him in a particular way that he, you don't touch somebody who doesn't want to be touched in any kind of sexual or erogenous zones, right? However, at the same time, you can't then also add on top of that guilty for touching a minor, because he shouldn't have been at that party. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I understand, but they're not.
There's two elements to that. You don't go to an over 21's party if you're like 14, 15 years old and then accuse somebody of touching a minor.
But it's irrelevant. The crime itself isn't the issue. It's the taint that the crime provides. It's the same thing with the guy that did George of the Jungle. The guy that did
Brendan Fraser.
Movie.
Yeah, that guy. Fraser. He said that one guy touched him.
Yeah, and it's like it didn't matter if it was true or not. He was blacklisted for years. Because it has nothing to do with whether or not he was guilty or not. It had to do with the fact that his name was tainted, and nobody wanted to associate with him. The guy from Subway,
Jared Fogle.
Right. Even when the accusation started, it didn't matter that he was nobody was waiting until he was accused, because Subway didn't want to be associated with that type of taint. It just works differently.
I'll look at Phil Lewis's latest comment, but also just with the.
So let me just go through them quickly. So he says busting a woman's head open with a chair doesn't count, or being accused of basically grooming and kidnapping a child. That's an accusation.
That's the thing. It's an accusation.
Yeah, we would have to wait.
Right. I don't understand what. So if we are to believe everything that the people who are accusing him of busting a woman's head open with a chair are saying, if we are to believe that, which I do, I'm going to tell you now, like, I believe the story. I believe the story of the people in Iceland as well. They should press charges against him so that it can be proved in a court of law. That's basically it. Right. And if they don't, then I feel that there's some kind of ulterior reason for them not to press charges. Maybe it was just something got out of hand in the party, and it was a complete accident. And Ezra Miller went up to her afterwards and profusely apologized and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. Like, you don't know the context.
Yeah, but Nerdman, wouldn't you
know,
say there's a chance, like, of, like, peer pressure from like, it's happened many times before, they'll try to, like, drop it, say it's their fault because of peer or something like that, peer pressure, and so say it happens in, like, half
sure, but
of cases.
we can't then act as the judge and jury over that situation from our places. Like we didn't see anything.
But
We don't
Nerdman,
know anything.
Of course, they're gonna act like judge and jury. That's a third of the internet.
Right, I get that.
I
But
mean,
I
you
just
can't
think
tell them that they shouldn't because they don't care.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just so they didn't show up to court because they all killed themselves.
Or other stuff like that, yeah. Like, they didn't,
What?
there were a couple that needed to do something to, like, go to court or, like, fully, start doing the legal stuff, and then they just didn't bother. That happens a lot. They just, like, all that stuff then pops up that they have to do, and they're like, is it very worth it? And, like, the public
I don't
eye and
understand
stuff.
this. But what's that got to do with what Film Elitist is saying? They didn't show up to court because they all killed themselves.
Well, that's what he's saying about Kevin Spacey.
He's saying it in quotes.
Yeah, and he's saying, like, sarcastically.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that.
Yeah, because either that happened, but he doesn't believe it. Probably, like, maybe hire somebody to take them out, that or just, like, utter bullshit. You think? So, I don't know. But,
Wait. Again, but they were at a party with adults who brought them there for the explicit reason to hurt them. You don't think these things occur? That's you adding your own speculation onto that situation. I know those parties happen in Hollywood, but we do not know that was the party that the thing with Kevin Spacey happened at. That's your own speculation. That's you.
Really
that's you. I mean, look, I don't want to defend somebody like Kevin Spacey, but or defend anyone like that. I'm defending the the process. It's not about defending some guy like again. Let me make this clear. The guy who accused Kevin Spacey said he went to a party when he was 15, right? And that he went to this party knowing it was for over 21s, and this is where this event with Kevin Spacey happened. This is what I remember from reading about this. And nobody asked him any follow-up questions about it. They just said, oh, this is terrible.
Okay, Film said what he meant, recent comment.
Okay, I'll check that out. Yeah. But nobody asked him any follow-up questions about that. They just were like,
okay, hold on. No, wait a minute.
It's terrible. He's a minor. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I'll give you another example. It's the same thing a bunch of the Marilyn Manson accusers basically did, right? Now, Marilyn Manson is a whole different case. I'm kind of curious how that one turns out, right? But I read the original texts that certain women put out, and all of them were saying in the beginning, when I was a teenager, Marilyn Manson approached me. It was very, very odd. Like a bunch of them saying this. It was like one of the beginning parts of the text. I was a teenager when Marilyn Manson, and I'm like, that's very deceptive because a teenager could mean anything. Were you 14? Were you 13? Or were you 19? Where it's legally allowed for Marilyn Manson to approach you. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Right, and using just the kind of thing, I was a teenager, right, is clearly supposed to, in the minds of people, go, oh wow, Marilyn Manson was approaching young like girls who were like only, and the problem you have there with that is nobody is doing the follow-up question. No one's going, hey guys, what do you mean by you were a teenager? Or hey, what do you mean by when you were 15 you went to a party for over 21s? What were you doing there? Was it because some big Hollywood executive
man,
took you to this party?
if you do that, you get accused of blaming the victim.
Well, the victim could be the person who's being accused.
It doesn't matter. People will avoid asking the follow-up questions if it gives the impression that they're trying to blame the victim. Just by saying you shouldn't have been there, it's like women saying it doesn't matter how I dress, I don't deserve to be raped. It doesn't matter if I was under 21.
It doesn't matter how they dress. They don't deserve to be raped.
I don't deserve to have that touch.
No, but I absolutely agree with that. That's nothing to do with what I'm saying.
And I'm saying if you ask that follow-up question, you are giving the impression that you are trying to blame the victim for having been there in the first place. And people try to avoid that.
Right.
People have to save their own ass. People have to cover their own ass.
Yeah, I mean, I also had one question. I'm sorry if it's a bit like off topic, but since you brought up the one thing, Marilyn Manson, so I don't know everything about the James Franco stuff. Do you guys know by any chance? Because I'm just wondering, because I didn't look into it fully, but I did read like half of the allegations against
Franco
him.
On Castro.
Yeah, I read like half of the allegations, and they were so stupid I laughed. So I'm just want to know if you guys knew all of them, because just in case the other half are actually pretty serious.
Other than what these guys do in a movie, I don't give a rat's ass what they do outside. I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I didn't read specifically about James Franco, but what you just said is the exact experience I have so many of the times reading allegations against people.
Yeah, it's like a lot of them are basically the equivalent
reading them, and I'm reading them, and I'm like, this doesn't explain to me how this even technically makes sense.
Yeah, no, like Norman, I'll tell you one example.
Let me give you an example. Okay. Just first. I remember the first time I read the Andy Signor and the Johnny Depp allegations. Mm-hmm. I was sitting there befuddled by anyone who believed this shit. I was like, what the fuck is Amber Heard talking about? How is that even remotely possible, what you're saying he did? You just had to read the allegation to be like, that makes no fucking sense. Same with Andy Signor. The things against the woman was saying, the main accuser of Andy Signor. I was like, he took me to a hotel, and then I went into the hotel, and then he took my clothes off, right? And then I was naked on the bed. And then he inserted something into me, the vibrator or something like that. I'm like, wait a second, you've skipped a bit. Where were your clothes come up?
You skipped a few steps.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that, because how the hell would any woman do that with Andy Signor? Come on, that's unbelievable.
But it's just it's
my question is, how did you remember it after taking the roofies?
Jesus.
Anyway, let's go.
Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
I remember one story I read about James Franco quickly, though, where it was literally the equivalent of a girl saying "said nudes," and he was like, "Are you 18 or over?" And then she texted yes, and he was like, "Okay, sends a pic," and then she's like, "I'm 14," and then he just blocks her, and then she's like, "Oh, James Franco sent a minor a nude." So, like, that was literally like half the allegations I read. I've not read the other half, so maybe they're serious.
He basically was using his studio to pick up, like his acting school to pick up chicks. It's basically what he was doing. And now to justify that, he has to say that he's a sex addict. To justify doing what most men would do, or a lot of men would do, he has to go, oh, I've got a sex addiction, and I didn't know I was an alcoholic.
Every man has a sex addiction.
It's like, dude, you just want to get laid, and you went about it a sleazy way, but you didn't do anything fucking criminal. As far even It's worse when you see the accusations, right? And you're like, there's nothing criminal in this. What are you? He love bombed me. I keep hearing this. Have you read this before?
No, what the
Girls
hell is
going,
love bombing?
that's what I was asking. They go, they say these things as if, we should all know them, right? Oh, we started this relationship and, immediately he starts love bombing me. And, and this is, and then they go into, what the person supposedly
here's
did.
love bombing, an action or practice of lavishing someone with attention or affection, especially in order to influence or manipulate them.
Oh, I see. Whatever. Well, why don't they just say that? But that was what a bunch of the Marilyn Manson accusers were saying. But anyway, let me. I think at least 3 of them used that phrase. They'll cancel someone on word of mouth, no matter how long ago. But they did nothing to the woman that instigated a racially motivated hate mob to kill.
Oh god, we're gonna bring up that story. Oh boy.
Well, it's not just a story. I mean, that is
Oh
what she
yeah,
did,
I
and
mean
they
it's
didn't. She should have been criminally charged for it. Anyway, the story of the kid from Days Confused told was that he and Bryan Singer and others brought those kids to pool parties to abuse them. When you're a kid actor with no adult supervising you, that's yes. The kid from Dazed and Confused, I believe, did say that about Bryan Singer, but that is not connected to the story about Kevin Spacey. That's a completely different incident. Do you get this? So there's this.
I mean, did he go to the same party?
So he did not say Bryan Singer brought him to this party that he met Kevin Spacey at. That is not what he said. Okay, he said, I went to a party when I was 15 years old, right? And etc. etc. It was for over 21s, blah, 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 right? He never mentioned Bryan Singer in that account. Maybe there's another account if you want to link me to it where he mentions Bryan Singer, but Bryan Singer certainly, and those pool parties, those infamous pool parties, is not where he said he met Kevin Spacey. So if I'm wrong, please enlighten me.
Yeah, see, here's what I don't understand. Most people understand that the elites in Hollywood are like this. We know that they're like this, but we don't have a problem watching their movies unless it's actually exposed. Like, we all knew, like everybody knows a person like Weinstein exists. We all knew a person like Kevin Spacey exists in Hollywood. We know that there are dozens of them out there. But it's okay to watch their movies. It's okay to support their projects unless it's brought out. And then once it's brought out, then we can go, oh, we don't want to watch their movies anymore.
Well, I'm still going to separate it.
Just to answer your question, what exactly are they saying that Ezra Miller? Because I read something a few weeks ago that made me very, very concerned. I heard something a few weeks ago where somebody was calling the police on Ezra Miller before anything about Ezra Miller had come out, and was saying that he was running some cult and he was trying to impregnate women.
A cult couldn't run.
No. But this person called the police and said that before any of this news had come out, I think maybe the choking incident had come out, but that had pretty much died down, right? And during a police, a 999 call, this woman basically said, that he's running some cult, he's trying to impregnate women. That deeply concerned me. And I was like, dude, this guy needs to be seriously investigated, right? Because if any of that is kind of true, I see wherever things are going with him, going in a very bad direction, very, very quickly. So that aside, that is, for me, I was just like, that needs to really be looked into, because that for me is not somebody going to the media and going, oh, I want my 10 minutes, 15 minutes of fame. Let me, add on to the bandwagon of people, dogpiling on this guy. That is somebody genuinely calling the cops and saying, without any kind of prompting from anything else, that this is what this guy is doing. That needs to be seriously investigated. The rest of it, as I said, the grooming, all of that kind of stuff, I tend to believe where there's smoke, there's fire, so something is happening, something is going on. But if none of that has been proven, right? And therefore, I'm just doing guesswork. I'm just assuming, right? And nobody's life's work or job should be put in jeopardy because I assume they're guilty. Do you get what I'm saying?
It's not based on that, Nerdman. It's based on outrage. It's based on outrage. You're trying to apply logic to the people on the internet. It doesn't work that way.
No,
it's like saying, it's like you said, why would Warner Brothers throw away a $200 million movie? Well, that's easy, because they're gonna spend. They spent $200 million on a movie. They're gonna spend they're gonna have to spend another $200 million on advertising. They're gonna run the risk of all the backlash and outrage of all of the Twitter brigade, going, "Oh my God, how dare you release a movie supporting this so-called groomer and whatever?" You have to look at the board of directors of Warner Brothers, going, is it worth spending another $200 million, losing money off of this movie, getting the outrage of everybody? It's still not gonna, and there's a good chance no one's gonna watch this movie anyway. They're not looking at it as, well, you know what? Ezra Miller wasn't officially tried, so therefore we still have to consider him innocent. They don't give a rat's ass. They care about what the general audience.
Well, look, to answer, because you've raised a good point, Jaded, and
I always raise a good point.
I mean, personally,
I'll
I think
say
unless
this,
they pull something very serious from here, or like a fucking OJ. I mean, even though we know OJ's innocent, right, guys?
Yes.
I think they'll eventually still release it.
If Ezra Miller ran 2,000 yards in a season, Sean would be defending Ezra Miller.
Hell yeah. But yeah, no, I think they'll release it. So unless he does something way more serious from here on,
I think if he has to do something much more serious than steal his neighbor's.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. That should never have seen the light of day as a story. He's felony charged for stealing his neighbor's beer. That now is just like, let's find some Ezra Miller dirt. Let's find some Ezra Miller dirt. Let's find some Ezra Miller dirt. Like, quickly. That's not him assaulting, abusing people or anything like that. That's him apparently stealing beer from his neighbor. And apparently that neighbor apparently goes into Ezra Miller's house and takes stuff from him. That's apparently what's
Ezra Miller could jaywalk. Nerdman, Ezra Miller could jaywalk, and you'll have people doing 20-minute videos. It's irrelevant. He's newsworthy. That's all that matters.
And so as for whether somebody who's been accused multiple times of abusing people under the age of 15 or something like that, I don't think you should work with them. I do think if they're innocent, they should try and prove their innocence.
You shouldn't work with them because they'd be in jail. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, he's saying about people who are just accused, not that they go through some kind of criminal.
In the court of law, Accused means everything in the court of public opinion. Those
Right.
are two different things.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is that it's kind of difficult. It depends on the severity of the accusation. It depends on, a number of different things.
Yeah, it does. Like the beer story, honestly, it's on par with like what the new Joker actor got arrested for just being too drunk in like Dublin that one night.
Yeah. I mean, there's with Kevin Spacey, the thing of it is like there was a few people who did accuse him, and he was, it was like over 20 years ago or something like that. And I think, is he suing them or he's suing somebody? I'm not sure. So if situations like that happen when minors are involved and stuff like that, and you have good reason to believe that the person really did do that, then I do think that certainly the work with them should be limited a lot not until they prove their innocence, but I mean, they have to come out and say something. They have to defend themselves. That's another part of my problem with what's happening with Ezra Miller. Why aren't you coming out and defending yourself, against all this kind of stuff, right? Like, is your lawyer telling you not to, or
who knows what's going through his head
guilty
right now, though, nerd man? Like, we don't know
or is he going through some mental breakdown? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going through a mental breakdown, he's probably got his handlers keeping him away from the press.
So I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner. Everyone makes mistakes, and I'm a huge believer in forgiveness and also hearing both sides of the story. But when 15 to 20 people are telling the same story,
I mean, 15 to 20 people live with Bill Cosby, and he's innocent, right, guys?
Yeah, I mean, right. I was just gonna use Bill Cosby as an example.
Wait. When 15 or 20 people are telling the same story,
but hold on, are they all women?
Been published? No. I'm gonna go against this because this is bullshit. First of all, Kevin Spacey knows thousands of people. He's a super famous guy. So if 15 or 20 people accused you, film elitist, of something because you only know what, I don't know, who close people in your circle, maybe 100, 200 people or something like that, then you'd think, well, 15 or 20 people accuse film elitist of something. That's a fucking huge deal. That's like 20% of the people he knows or whatever, right? Kevin Spacey, that might as well be 0.0001% of the people he knows. It's 20 to 15 people. And if you have one person publish something in a newspaper, right, or publish something online, and then another person copies the exact same story, then how is that any evidence against the person? That's no evidence. That's just them going, well, I'll read this story. Same thing with Marilyn Manson.
Situation, that's all.
Yeah. Also, who's Anthony Raps or whatever?
He's actually a really good actor. I really like him. He's from Dazed and Confused, and he's in the new Star Trek show. And I believe him. But like, again, my beliefs, shouldn't result in the destruction of somebody else's life. Those are my beliefs. I believe Anthony. This accuser.
But nerd man,
so that's my belief. That doesn't mean that Kevin Spacey.
But nerd man, you have people who take pride in going, I helped destroy this person's career.
Right, I know.
It's
so spread out over decades with similar individual corresponding details. I'm inclined to believe those types of accusations. Again, I agree with you on that, but I also think that it would be much better if accusers went to their lawyers, made some kind of statement, sealed that statement, put it with the police before they go to the media, so that you can verify that they told that story prior to reading any other account from anybody else. Because once you've got that in the cycle of news, right, either one of two things can happen. You can either copy a person's accusations full on and just make it sound exactly so it sounds like, oh, there's a pattern of behavior in what this person's doing. Or secondly, you can make any encounter with that person seem like it was super sinister, and it wasn't, right? Like, oh, and I'm going to use Bill Cosby. I know people don't like it very much, but there was a bunch of people who said they met Bill Cosby. Like a woman would come out, and she was added to these 50, 100 accusers. Oh, I met Bill Cosby, and he talked to me in a creepy way. Like literally was added to the accusers against Bill Cosby. Now, I'm not saying Bill Cosby didn't do anything, but the numbers of accusers, right? If you look at some of the individual stories, some of them shouldn't even be included in those numbers. Anyway, so
yeah, there
you go. Pickles.
Pickle just like sniping from the
yeah, I know exactly. He don't want to face people. You're not downplaying it all, Nerd Man. You're just going by the facts as we know as of now, which is not enough to imprison someone. Yes, Ezra has to go to court on the charges of robbing the house of alcohol. Yeah. And then it says there's two types of accusations to me. That's all I'm saying. Amber Heard's clearly falsified, lie-filled crap that no other woman backed up by experience, and those where 10 to 20 people are saying the same thing. Again, if see, this is philosophical Pickles, contribution to intellectual discussions here. I miss you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, again, the problem is 20 accusers, you put something out on Facebook or whatever, accusing someone of some heinous shit, and then somebody copies you. I don't see how you can take that as evidence. I think that should be immediately.
The idea is to establish a pattern of behavior, Nerdman. That's
so then that's a good comment. Go to the cops. Go to the cops and do a private, like sealed statement prior to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Prior to you saying anything in the media, do a sealed statement prior to you, and ensure that you state factually, I haven't read any other accounts. I just heard that this person in the news has been accused of something, and immediately when I saw it, I was like, maybe it's time for me to tell my story, and I signed it with a lawyer. I've put my statement away, and I'm only going to I won't state any what do they call it, like facts about the case that only themselves and the criminal, the or the accused would know, right? I'm not going to state any of those facts in what I say to the media. I'm just going to tell a general story of what happened. Do you get what I'm saying? And that way, if the details match across the board of the accusers, right? Because they're only telling general statements to the media, like, oh, he did this to me, right? But I'm not going to tell you the exact story.
The problem is,
then you've got something. Then you've got evidence.
But Nerdman, it's a question of whether or not the individual person chooses to believe the pattern established by the accusers or not. That's the thing. Having 15 or 20 people. In other words, you have a bunch of women who are accusing, the comedian. What was his name? Sean, you just mentioned him. Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you have a bunch of people who are going, yeah, we don't believe these 30 women. And you have another group of people who are going, well, yeah, obviously this is establishing a pattern. It's the accusers trying to build up a case to establish it. So when you had said, oh, that one woman said that I met Bill Cosby and he creeped me out. Well, the accusing prosecutor is going, we want every little bit so that we can establish
because they're
pattern.
advocates. Because they're advocates for a position. They are
right. So
nothing
they're going,
a lawyer says is ever true.
It doesn't matter. You're talking like it matters.
Just so you understand, people should really understand this. Nothing a lawyer says is ever true. It's always one-sided because they are advocates for a position. And that's, Jaded, exactly what you said is true. They're not going to go, a lawyer, you will never hear these words from a lawyer saying, hey, you know, the other side made a really good point yesterday.
Well, they
and I take that into consideration. But still, I've got this A, B, and C evidence to show that you never, because they are advocates for a particular position.
A trial,
everything that comes out of a lawyer's mouth is bullshit.
But Nerdman, a court of law is not a debate. You are not going into a court of law and trying to debate the other side and go, oh, I have more proof than the opposing side. That's not how the court of law works.
But do you agree with me, Jaded? Do you agree with me, Jaded, that it fundamentally violates the rights of defendants by having people put full accounts out to the media, right? No. Jaded. They put out full accounts, like for instance, the accusers of Michael Jackson, right? They put out the whole story with the media, right?
Because they wanted to sell their book.
Prior to any criminal charge. But they can sell the book after. Jaded, they can sell the book after. What I'm saying is, if they go to the media, right, and they make that kind of accusation, and they put all of the story, into an article or anything, that evidence should immediately be dismissed because it violates the rights of the defendant, and it prejudices them.
You are asking for a utopia that doesn't exist. You are asking for a utopia that is a delusion.
But that's
like saying, you know what? We should live in a world where all women are faithful.
All I'm saying is you can get just
should be. That's the way it should be. Well, guess what? What?
No, I'm saying you can get just as big a story by telling a few details. Say you're an accuser of Bill Cosby, right? You can put out a few details. In this year, Bill Cosby abused me, did something. It was a sexual assault.
Okay.
And leave it at that, right? Just leave it at that, and then go to a lawyer, put out a full statement to them, seal it, everything like that, so nobody can accuse you of having.
And you know what should happen after that, Nerdman? Racism should go away. It should just go away. Like, what are you talking about? People don't work that way.
I'm saying what should happen. I'm not saying that.
And you know what should happen? Racism should be gone. Racism should be gone by 2:00 tomorrow afternoon.
I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it should happen, and that's how evidence should be gathered in these situations.
You know what? A24 should make movies worth watching, but that ain't gonna.
They already do.
Either.
You know,
Zack Snyder fans should stay on their medication.
You're lying just like the O.J. Simpson accusers, man, by saying that with A24. God damn it.
That's the same thing with Mike Tyson accusers. It was the same thing with Mike Tyson. Come on.
Yeah, but I will say, film has made some good points, and down below, and again, it is like how do you actually the extent of evidence that you want, Nurban, like how do you come up? It seems pretty difficult, with an incident like that when you're a powerful person and it was just an isolated incident.
Wait, let me get to that comment. I want to tell me which comment that is, but I'm going to just read out Daniel Martin's
it's just
comment.
my thoughts, but
Daniel Martin's comment first. So Brian,
No, hold on.
Singer
I want
said-
to answer Film Elitist's last.
let me read this out, and then
go
you
ahead.
go. Feel free. Brian Singer is said to be hanging around and dabbing in underage sex parties. Who so far he hasn't been dragged in the court of public opinion. That's true. Why is Brian Singer not? It's funny to me because like he's got some serious allegations. Okay, so Jaded, feel free. What this was the last comment you were talking about?
Something he was saying. Something. Film Elitist asked me a question. Something about that's how it works.
Yeah, I'll read it. Yeah, Jaded,
Where
that's
is it?
how it works. Otherwise, you'd be punishing every single actor, director, and producers. Talk about, like the
Right.
directors.
Except here's the thing. Everybody's saying everybody knows Hollywood has these sex parties. Everybody knows the Hollywood elite do this. So the idea that the majority of the people in Hollywood are doing crimes of one sort or another is known. You know this going in. When you go
Anyway, he
into a
also says,
movie,
why would you boycott someone before hearing they did some evil stuff?
because
Wait.
you know that because you are establishing by default, you know that in any particular movie, there is a good chance that any one of those actors are a pedophile or have done something or have abused someone. Everybody keeps saying, this is how Hollywood people are. This is an established fact, meaning you are establishing that in any movie you watch, there is a good chance that any one of those people in that movie have abused or done something criminal or have taken drugs or have groomed or have done something. But it's okay. So in other words, if you're supposed to stand on this, what's this word? This virtue signaling or this what's the word I'm looking for? This moral superiority, then you should be boycotting films in general because you should be supporting these type of behavior. So
I mean, for me personally,
if you keep watching these movies,
No, I think you're going too far. I see
that's
what
right.
you're saying.
That's my point. That's my
I think
point.
I see what you're saying about the hypocrisy, of it.
And I'm going.
And I'm like you, Jaded. I really don't, unless they've like touched a child or murdered somebody. I really don't care. If they had a fight in a pub or a club or something like that, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't care unless it's something like when it gets to hurting children or like murdering someone. Then I'll take sexual assault. Obviously, it goes without saying. But can I just respond quickly to this thing?
No, I was just going to make a quick statement. Statement. Even after I found out what happened to Kevin Spacey, I'm not going to stop watching The Usual Suspects. It's not happening. I'm still going to watch The Usual Suspects again.
Well, what I will say, just ones that are confirmed and are, with proof and evidence and are pretty serious, like Roman Polanski and Victor Salva. I mean, I'm not going to not watch Roman Polanski films, obviously. I'm not going to support them, with any money.
I'm not watching a Roman Polanski film even before the accusations. But since the accusations, I'm definitely not.
When I watch it, I'm saying I would watch him on like a free movie site. I wouldn't give him my money.
I'm still considering Roman Polanski. I'm still considering Roman Polanski one of the best directors of all time. I don't care.
Wait a second. He slept with a 13-year-old girl. There's no two ways about it.
And that doesn't take away from the fact that he's still one. I
don't even agree with that statement that he's one of the greatest.
No, I agree. No, again, it's a personal preference. It's a personal preference.
Sure, it's a personal preference. But anyway,
the fact that he slept with a 13-year-old girl, how does that affect how we directed the movies? Nothing.
He should go to jail. That's what I'm saying.
And he should never make movies again. Absolutely. But don't tell me that what he did somehow affects the way he directed a movie. Sorry.
Well, it would only affect it if it changes the meaning of something.
The
Like
story, right?
So for instance, if somebody wrote Lolita, right?
Yeah, if
and then you're like, oh wow, that's a really interesting intellectual.
And then directed Lolita.
I mean, that is how Jeepers Creepers was made. That's the story with Victor Salva.
So that for me would affect it. Like, but anyway, so some with being a woman, sexual assault is notoriously hard to prosecute, and many times, if the victim is brave enough to tell police, for years they had to worry about being taken seriously. Here's my thing. What the police did, first of all, for a long time, was absolutely appalling to women. It was outrageous. The stories you hear about police just blackballing people who came forward to them and accused men of doing certain things, and they just weren't listened to, is outrageous. I've got a long litany of stories that I've read about that. Second, okay, if you're brave enough to tell the media, you should be brave enough to tell the police. Okay, so that's my second comment, right? You're conflating a whole litany of stories that happen from from basically the 1920s, even prior onwards to like the 90s and stuff, where women were just not listened to and rape accusations were not taken seriously at all by police. And you're conflating that with a different phenomena that's happening right now, where women are coming forward to the media prior to coming forward to the police. In the sense of, this is a different time. So yes, I still think there has to be changes in how the police handle these things, but they certainly take it seriously now. And the criticism has been, of how police used to do things has been heard in volumes. So there's no reason right now for a woman to feel, I'm brave enough to come forward to the media, but I'm not brave enough to come forward to the police. That doesn't make sense to me. And secondly, even if you're coming forward to the media, you don't have to tell the whole story, because once you tell that whole story, three things happen. You make your evidence weaker, right? Because now you told your whole story to the media. It's all out there. Somebody else could copy your story, making yours look like, if somebody comes out there and lies about the person when your story is actually real, right? Then people will, focus on the person who lies, right? They'll be like, oh, see, there's a liar amongst them, so therefore the whole thing must be bullshit.
It puts everything in jeopardy.
Right? Yeah. It puts everything in jeopardy, right? So you could easily just state a few of the facts to the media that you want out there so that you can have your voice heard, but keep essential facts to an investigation between yourself, a lawyer, if you don't trust the police, and also the police. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well,
because it would make your case a hell of a lot stronger.
Yeah, but people don't work that way, Nerdman. That's
they go off of emotions, and they don't think.
They're women. They go off emotions.
Yeah, that's whatever. Anyway, I have to go now. But
John, I just said it for you. Don't worry.
Anyway, I have to go now. But thanks for having me on, Nerdman.
No problem.
If you ever again have time to talk about the screenplay you're doing,
I am going to talk about the screenplay.
Let me know in DMs. But also, I am there. I did have two ideas for a screenplay myself that I've been kind of working on here and there. And if I get to a certain point with them, I'll definitely have you and maybe others in on it, if you have any interest as well.
No, I definitely do. Let's we can talk about it tomorrow if you want.
Sure. If you're around.
Wish I was on when you guys were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have time tomorrow around this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, see you later, guys.
See you, dude.
I just wished I was on when you and Poindexter were talking about Wonder Woman, so I could tell you how both wrong you were. But then I figured you,
wait
then
a
I
second. Why
figured you
are
wouldn't let me
you
on.
even on my channel, man?
That's what I was about to ask. I go,
what
I
are
was
you doing
gonna
here?
type. Am I even allowed on your channel, Nerd Man?
You're banned from my channel. I don't know
You've
what
been banned from my
you're
channel.
lucky to be here. You sound like the anti-woke right now, Nerd Man. It's literally no different. You're applying agenda across the board as a default set. I don't know how you listen to my comments.
No, it's from Elitas because he's applying it in a general sense. That's the thing. He's applying it in a general sense. That's why it's not that defeats your statement.
I don't even get his statement. What exactly did I do? If someone can get fired for what they tweet, then a man being accused of assaulting underage boys has to get the can too. No, they don't. No, they don't. It's not equivalent. If you tweet out some racist bullshit, then you've proven that you
getting fired for what you tweet is wrong. Getting
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. If I tweet out, I hate all fucking white people and they should be fucking murdered, indiscriminately, and fuck babies. So? Right, and I'm working for, Disney. Sure, you can fire me. It's there. The tweet is there. No one can say they hacked my account or something like that. It's there. It's up there. Unless I can prove I didn't fucking write that. And if it's a series of tweets, right, that you do saying this kind of stuff, then of course you can. But if you're accused, of something, that needs to be proven. It's not like a tweet where it's
bullshit. Because feminists can say kill all men all they want, and they never get in trouble for it. Nobody gets to fire women for saying kill all men. So anybody
show me one Hollywood personality.
The internet has established a line. Huh?
Show me one Hollywood personality who said that.
No. You said firing a person for a tweet. If a person says kill all white people or whatever, okay? Yeah. So what? If you can have women saying kill all men and those women don't get to be fired for saying that, then the internet has established a baseline saying you can threaten the death of any type of person you want.
You're using a baseline of
that's right because it's been established.
Because what you're doing is and I think it's a clever way of going about things is you're judging people by their own morality.
That's right. You're saying, you don't get to do that.
I'm not because I don't know, what's morally right or wrong. I'm only going to judge you by your own ethics, right? Okay, I think that's a fair enough intellectual position.
I'll give you an example.
What I'm saying is, legally speaking, from a modern day, like from the context of what is happening today. I gave an extreme example. I don't think anybody has ever come out saying kill all black people or blah, blah, blah on Twitter.
Well, maybe on private chats, but that's different.
Sure. But what I'm saying is like no famous person has ever come out like saying stuff like that.
Right.
Right.
I understand.
But I'm saying that, if like, for instance, that the guy from Seinfeld, he comes out and he does that thing on stage, right? Like it starts shouting.
Yeah, well, he did that for a reason.
That's exactly the same as tweeting.
Oh, I agree, but again,
there's no difference. If somebody says something and tweets something, right? It's like somehow people feel like you're divorced from tweets or Facebook posts or something like that because it's written or something. No, everyone agrees. No. Everyone agrees that Michael Richardson should have been. I think the punishment was too much actually for the Seinfeld guy. I think after a while he could have been forgiven. I think he lost it at that point. I don't think he's like, some crazy racist. At least from in my opinion. Maybe I like Kramer too much or something like that. But I don't think he is.
Value, nerd man. That was the point.
Right, exactly. But he should have been, adequately dealt with at that point. right? And punished, whatever. And it's the same thing with doing an outrageous tweet. If you do an outrageous tweet, people have the right to fire you for a while, or to, you lose your current job, right? You go, you get help, or you do whatever you need to do to get your forgiveness, and then you come back. I don't think you should be cancelled out of society completely, right?
I don't know.
I think you can go away, reflect on things, and your behavior, if what you did was really wrong. If you stand by what you said, then stand by it. But if you realize, like, hey, maybe I went overboard and blah blah blah, then sure, you get rid of them for a while. You don't cancel them completely from fucking society to never be seen again.
Nerdman, it's just that I'm just so used to empty threats that it's like the threats on my life have absolutely no meaning. Because nobody ever actually follows through on them. And if you're saying them to my face and you're not following through on them, why would anybody, just a random person on the internet's threat, have any value? It doesn't. It has no value.
I literally don't know why Film Elitist isn't on here. Like, why don't you just come forward and like fucking talk?
Yeah, Film Elitist,
like,
get
literally,
on
I've sent you a link like over an hour ago. You're writing all of this stuff. You're such a keyboard warrior. He is a classic. Film Elitist is a classic keyboard warrior.
A Film Elitist and Pickle. Film Elitist and Pickle.
Yeah, keyboard warriors to the end. Anyway, it's literally no different. None of those people being fired for tweets are saying the N-word, man. Yes, it's called giving an example. Do you understand? Giving an extreme example. I'm using an extreme example to illustrate a point. Jesus Christ, man.
And at the same time, Film Elitist, you got the fact that you had companies that were going overboard to pander to a certain group to go, look, we're on your side. We're on your side. It doesn't matter whether it was women or gays or blacks. They were like they were being trigger happy. Guess what? Yeah. It doesn't happen as much anymore. Why? Because that phase is over.
Yeah. No, look, if you are putting forward a political position, like your political position, I'm a Republican or anything like that, no one has the right to fire you for that kind of thing, right? I don't think you should be fired for saying that I'm anti-abortion, right? That's not something that is a company's business, right? Now, on the other hand, they still do, unfortunately, have the right to terminate people for insensitive tweets towards specific communities, right?
Protected groups.
These kind of protected groups.
No matter what you say, you cannot say an anti-Semitic
right
quote.
Or something that can be interpreted as anti-Semitic and stuff like that. Right. And I feel to some extent that is bullshit. But at the same time, the company you're working for, know their guidelines and whatever. If you want to keep your job, don't say shit like that. And
the consequences for what would happen if you said it.
Right. So there's that. That being said, if you tweet something that's outrageous, you can get fired for it. I don't think you should be cancelled completely from society, as I said. But that is very different from having a criminal charge brought up against you for, something like rape or something that hasn't been proven yet. You've been proven to have written that tweet, right? Unless you come out and say, oh, someone hacked my account or somebody wrote that message for me, you're proven to have written that fucking tweet.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no two ways about it. So either the company likes it or dislikes it, or either it goes against their guidelines or it doesn't go against their guidelines. Someone accusing you of sexual abuse, I don't know anyone who's come out and said, yeah, I did it. Do you know what I mean? Like, certainly.
No one's confessed.
If you're still being accused, you have what is called a veil of innocence. You are innocent until proven guilty. That is the standards of our legal system, or at least the legal system in America. And I think it's one of the most important precepts that they actually have that should be cherished. There's not much that should be cherished about American politics or the legal criminal justice system. But that one tenet is one thing I will stand by to the end, that this person is innocent until proven guilty. I think it's so important. Just like I stand with, certain things like, democracy and, what
and George Floyd
certain elements of the
George
Constitution,
Floyd.
freedom of speech, that kind of thing. Those are important things that need to be upheld.
And George Floyd, and you stand with George Floyd, right?
I do stand with George Floyd. Goes without saying. It's literally no different. None of these. Oh boy. Feeling a little under the weather. I'm sorry.
Apparently, you don't feel under the weather enough to constantly text. You don't feel. It's amazing how it's like, I'm under the weather enough to not be seen, but I'm not under the weather enough to constantly comment. I love how there's that little.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry you're feeling under the weather. I know he has some issues sometimes. Anyway, my only point is that what she tweeted was nothing offensive, perhaps to some, to many not. They have the right to fire someone for being bad PR. I already said, he accuses me because I had some debate with Halogen Helix about whether Disney had the right to fire what's her name again, Gina Carano. So I said, yeah, they had the right to do it.
What did she tweet?
Yeah, because she kept tweeting and they told her to stop. Right, and she kept.
I don't know anything about it. I don't follow this stuff. I don't care.
My video on it. If I don't know if he wants to go back, because he always accuses me of shit. My video on it was vehemently in her corner. I was absolutely on her side. Now I said, from a legal standpoint, did Disney have the right to fire? Yes, because she went against the values of the company. She
the values of the company.
That's what they can fire you for that. You don't have the right of freedom of speech within a company.
Well,
they're paying you.
No, nerdman. It's not the values of the company. It's the perceived values of Disney. Because Disney is way into slave labor. Disney has no problem with slave labor.
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
Tell me they have values.
If freedom of speech applied to the inner workings of companies, then everyone would go around calling their boss a cunt, wouldn't they? They'd go, freedom of speech doesn't apply when someone is paying you fucking money to do a job. You've ever heard of the state of the long-held wisdom, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? That's the whole fucking thing. They are paying you. You are employed by them. Freedom of speech doesn't count there. You can't just go up to your boss and go, "You're a fucking cunt," without thinking you might get fired. You can get fired for that, unfortunately.
You can get fired, but you can't get arrested. There's a difference.
That was all I was saying. It was a point about whether they had the right to do it. I didn't say I thought it was right that they did it. I just said, do they have the right, legally speaking, to do it? And that was what the argument was about. The mob doesn't get to determine anything. That's my point, Nerdman. It's not different with tweets. You get protection from accusations, but not explain the context of a tweet. That's insane.
Yeah, but you're talking about the internet mob. Film elitists. You cannot rationalize with the internet mob. They're hypocritical bullshit artists.
Anyway,
you're trying to establish logic to hypocritical bullshit artists. It doesn't work.
Well, okay, that's the end of this conversation. I got into all of the stuff that I wanted to get into, but prior to actually finishing this video. But have you heard about, like, what is your take on David Zaslav and what he's been doing recently, like his performance?
Who's
recently?
David Zaslav and what's he been doing?
That's one of the finest answers I've ever heard to a question that doesn't matter in my life.
Who's
David Zaslav is the head of Discovery.
The guy, the group that bought Warner Brothers.
The group that bought Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And I love your answer. I almost feel like leaving it there because ultimately it doesn't matter anything that's happened or anything that he does.
What has he been doing?
Bullshit. People talk about this stuff like it's really their lives. You know what I'm saying?
But it is, Nerd Man. It is, Nerd Man. These are people that have YouTube channels that are literally rely on every little tidbit of information so that they can make videos, so that they can make money.
Well, yeah, I guess, but like, you know, the people who follow this stuff, like, with an emotional connection to it. My only emotional connection is I'm 40 years old, nearly, and I'm worried because I haven't treated my body that great. I'm probably not in the best shape of health or whatever. Maybe I've got like 20 years left, hopefully. I want to see my fucking movies that I've always wanted to see before I die. That's my only fucking fight in this game. I'm a comic book movie fan, and I want to see my Green Lantern, a good Green Lantern movie. I want to see a continuation of a Justice League movie. I want to see a great modern Superman movie, all before I die. And I think Warner Brothers is taking a hell of a long time, and they might actually miss the party because I think there's already a fatigue because of all the bullshit crap the MCU has pumped into our souls.
But it doesn't matter, Nerd Man. They can make a new Superman movie anytime they want. Anytime they want.
But it might have missed the boom of this superhero, like, storytelling being exciting and being something that people are looking at. But in any case, David Zaslav, he scrapped the Batgirl movie, right? He scrapped the Wonder Twins movie. And he scrapped basically everything.
The Batgirl movie.
Armada had been doing.
Hold on. He scrapped the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question about the Batgirl movie. I actually wanted to make a video about this. Why does everybody care that the Batgirl movie was canceled when everybody who's bitching about it had no interest in this goddamn movie since it was announced? Like, this is absolute bullshit.
It's because it's Warner Brothers and they want to shit on Warner Brothers.
And they just want to shit on Warner Brothers.
If Warner Brothers do the Batgirl movie, they shit on it. If they don't do the Batgirl movie, they shit on it.
The Batgirl movie was announced. What were people doing? Oh, they were shitting on the amount of money that they were putting into it. They were shitting on her costume. They were shitting on the actress. They were shitting on the production value. They were shitting on all over this. They were going, who asked for this movie? Nobody wanted this movie. And then they cancel it and they go, well, why did they cancel this movie? I don't know. Because maybe for the last 2 years, you guys have been bitching about this movie. And now all
saying that you're not going to go and watch it and saying that you hate the actress. And
so you can go watch the movie so you can pretend that you, I mean, shut up.
This is why I say. I've never agreed with you more, JD, on anything.
I don't care about the Batgirl movie. I really don't. If it got released, I'd watch it. If it sucks, I'll make fun of it. If it doesn't get released, I never wanted a Batgirl movie anyway.
Yeah, it was to me. I was like, well done. I almost got up and clapped. He for my money, what David Zaslav, what Walter Hamada was doing was absolutely, like, he had a couple of hits. I'm not going to take that away from him. The Batman was a good call. The Joker was a good call. But anything in universe of the DCEU that he was doing was absolute fucking trash. And the enemy,
Hold on. Everything under the DCEU umbrella, you didn't really.
No, he was
like
doing. Well, I like that he continued Shazam. I'll give him that, and Black
But you also
Adam.
liked Wonder Woman.
That wasn't him.
Oh, that wasn't him.
That was under Jeff Johns.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, in any case, right, like I've seen the plans now of what he intended to do, which was the all-female Trinity, the Black Superman, all of this fucking waste that he was trying to do, trying to drive fucking Warner Brothers into the ground and DC into the ground. And I'm so glad that David Zaslav stuck out his big, massive cock and just slammed it on all of fucking Walter Hamada's plans and said, no, we're having a real fucking, DC universe headed up by the DC Trinity as it should be, right? Like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and that's what we're looking for. My only problem is that once again he's going to Disney people. He's going to Alan Horn, who, for my money, has like, yeah, all right, the movies have made loads of money. These comic book movies the MCU has put out have made loads of money. And for the most part, I think they did the right thing for those characters because, let's be honest, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, Iron Man, all of these kind of characters, what else can you do with them but make them a joke? You have to, because nothing about their stories is actually fucking interesting. No one's read a fucking Iron Man comic.
Because they've chosen not to. There's the difference, though, nerd man. You can actually there's a difference between making a good movie that happens to be about superheroes as opposed to a superhero movie where we can do whatever the hell we want as long as the special effects are cool. There's two different things.
Right.
So
I'm what I'm saying is like Alan Horn, right? Like, well done to him. If I had the IP Ant-Man and that was all I could work with, like characters like Ant-Man and fucking, Captain Marvel, right, that kind of thing, I would do the exact same thing. I'd make it little comedy for all the family friendly, right, Guardians of the Galaxy, all of that kind of stuff. You cannot apply that to the DC characters, just like you can't apply it to Spider-Man or X-Men.
They did it
right?
with Wally.
Like Spider-Man and X-Men
as
Spider-Man and X-Men as a franchise is elevated above.
Well,
you expect more from a character like Spider-Man or the X-Men
wait a minute.
than some fucking bullshit comedy.
But nerd man, there are characters like Plastic Man, Wally West.
Yeah.
There are characters. Even Captain Marvel, to a certain degree, does have humor. Yeah. No, it's not. His name is not Shazam. His name is Captain Marvel.
Okay. Just so that people aren't confused.
Okay, Shazam. Take Shazam. Right. They are characters that do have.
They lend themselves
to comedic aspects.
Right.
Wonder Woman doesn't. Superman doesn't. Green Lantern, well, maybe Kyle Rayner a little bit. And there are some.
Yeah.
But again,
for the most
don't
part,
do it to everybody.
Yeah, don't do it to those characters because it's not gonna. I don't think, at least I won't like it, and I ain't gonna go out and support massively. I'll go out and support a Green Lantern film. I'll go out and support any Wonder Woman film, but I'm not gonna support it to the degree that I would if they take those characters seriously and do serious films with them. Right? It's just a completely different thing. So that's my only problem with David Zaslav right now. I feel like he's going, hey, let's do it the way Marvel did it. And if he means by that, let's put out individual movies and then do a team-up movie, I'm all with him.
In other words, his formula, not the actual films themselves.
Not the tone of the films.
Right, not the tone.
If he wants to make films in the tone of the MCU, then I'm not with that. Let's see what he has to say. Nerdman, I trust WB
Right now.
more than Disney steering the MCU, to be honest. At least WB had the common sense to cancel that trash. Plus, they made a few good movies in the past 5 years. Yeah, exactly. So I agree with that, but like again,
but
Walter Hamada, I honestly think like people who are anti-Snyder will just jump on like the Walter Hamada like train or whatever, and it's like, wait a second, this guy had plans that would have absolutely ripped apart, like destroyed DC Comics movies for a whole fucking generation, and I'm glad that they wiped that trash away. Absolutely happy with it. I hope that he has the good sense, David Zaslav and whatever, to put out another Batman movie with Matt Reeves and maybe build a universe out of that. I hope he has the good sense to do that. I like that he's putting out the Joker movie.
I don't know, man. The second Joker movie being a musical doesn't really.
Yeah, I don't know about it being a musical. I hope he tells him, this director, like, no, basically to the musical element of it.
I don't. I'm not.
From what he's been saying, I feel like maybe he will. Like, they'll look at the script and go, yeah, Joker ain't singing fucking show tunes, bro.
No.
I'm sorry. Like, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So yeah, like that's my whole thing on this. And actually, what we talked about in this conversation, me and Enosh, actually has some kind of relevance, in terms of what we were saying should happen with the DC universe. In this conversation, I hope that I'll be able to play the rest of this. I don't know if I'll have to do a part 3 because I don't want you just sticking around listening to us. But yeah, like to me, as I said, like with the David Zaslav stuff, for the most part, I'm on board with him. I'm supporting him for having cancelled all this bullshit that was coming out.
The thing is with me is I take every superhero movie separately, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. That's it. Give me the next one. I don't care.
Yeah. Apparently the Batgirl just tested really, really poorly, and it's just like, how did you do this? How could you make this film?
These are the same people that made the Green Lantern movie. I mean, come on. I mean, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't care.
Yeah. The latest news is that they want to put the guy who was the head of the Arrowverse as like the head of the studio, which is absolute moronic as well.
Why?
Oh, because the Arrowverse is complete and utter garbage.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Everything about it. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
people try and rep for that Flash show, and the only thing good out of it is the Superman and Lois show. And there's one other thing. I can't remember what it is. One other thing that they did was good, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, Stargirl.
See, for me, when it comes to directors, there are some that with almost every director, they make a movie that I like, but they'll also make a movie that I don't like. So to me, saying a certain director is going to be taking over this movie, it's like it means nothing other than possibly the tone of how they'll actually do the movie. But I'm a Terry Gilliam fanboy. I love Terry Gilliam. But guess what? There are Terry Gilliam movies that I'm just not a fan of. Because guess what? Sometimes he makes movies that I like. Sometimes he makes movies I don't like. With Bryan Singer, everybody was pissed about how they stole him for the X-Men movies, right? And it was like, yeah, like so what? That doesn't mean that that the movies that he made, because I forget who he stole them from. He did. He was stolen from the X-Men movies to make something, and it was like, guess what? The movies that he made sucked. They weren't that good anyway. So it's like
Yeah.
putting your hopes on ooh, look, a director did a really good movie that I really liked. Doesn't mean that the next movie he makes is going to be any better. It's
Well, it's an indicator. It's an indicator that it
no,
will
it's
be
not.
good.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's an indicator of going with directors. It's an indicator of what the tone of the movie is going to be like. In other words, if I'm going to be watching a David Lynch movie, I know what to expect in regards to tone and the and context of the movie. If I'm going to go see uh, 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 oh shoot, a Mel Brooks movie, I know what kind of tone it's going to be. I may not like the movie, I may not find the movie humorous, but I know the type of movie it's going to be. The directors establish the tone and context of what type of movie it's going to be. Doesn't mean you're going to like it, and it doesn't mean you're going to hate it. It's just that you're going in knowing what to expect in regards to tone and context. That's all a director does. That's it.
All right. So wrote something in the private message, but dude, I'm gonna continue with the the conversation just to finish this off that I had with Enosh. So guys, you can enjoy that, but I have to head out, and I'll catch you guys.
His girlfriend's tapping him on the shoulder saying, get off now.
Yeah, exactly. You got me exactly right. Basically, Jaded, that's 100% true. So yeah, man, it was good to talk to you again, Jaded.
It's always good
really,
to talk to you, man.
And thanks, Sean, for coming on,
and thanks for filming me this
guys. Yeah, catch you guys on the flip side. You know, I love you 3000. Peace. If you guys want to stay on to watch the rest of the conversation with Enosh, feel free.
Going through like 40 guys. She should have shown that even without my powers, I am that badass.
Yep.
That, and can do, and go through these guys without a sword, without a shield, all of that. And I would have been totally there for that. And if she had a badass fight with Cheetah and then went up to Maxwell Lord and said, I'm going to persuade you with reason rather than punch you into submission, I would have been all there for it. But she needed a good boss fight first. You can't just, so that was my problem. And obviously there's a lot of stuff in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's just like, so I completely agree with you. Yes, Wonder Woman isn't written like it is in 1984, but I think she was trying to go for that, Wonder Woman who puts a hand out of peace before she fights. But if you don't take the hand of peace, she'll fight you, she'll.
Well, so I want to address this comment here from Patrick. So here's the thing, man. Here's what you got to remember. Just because you have somebody who executive produces and oversees something does not mean that other directors aren't going to get a time to shine. Zack Snyder is responsible for Wonder Woman. Zack Snyder cast Gal Gadot.
Yeah, okay.
Zack Snyder established who that character was. So yes, Patty Jenkins, even though she made her own movie, Patty Jenkins is doing a movie based upon a character that was established by Zack Snyder in BVS. Right, and then help craft who that character was going to become. Okay, and so then from that we got that first Wonder Woman movie. So I'm not saying that Zack needs to direct every DC movie.
No, I know you're not saying.
No, I'm saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to other people though in the chat too. Like, I'm not saying that Zack needs to direct every movie and like personally tell everybody what they have to do and whatnot. For every film. I'm saying, obviously, he's created a universe here where like if you're going to do things within that universe, you have to respect the universe that you're in. Otherwise, just go reboot the entire thing. Right?
Yeah.
Let him finish his 5-movie arc, reboot the entire thing. Don't do it. But see, this is why Wonder Woman 84 and Aquaman to some extent suffer a little bit. And I love Aquaman, but
after seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm pissed off that we didn't get the Aquaman that was going to happen from that.
Yeah,
that was
so
so
that's
much
the
better.
thing.
Did you see Volko in that? He was so much better than in the Aquaman movie. I was just like, it was going to be some dark, creepy
That's the thing.
It was like
that's
great.
The thing. Jeff Johns, and others wanted the best of both worlds. They wanted to be able to take Zack Snyder's world that he had created, because Jason Momoa was a huge hit as Aquaman. So, let's take that Aquaman and let's put him in this type of world. Let's take this Wonder Woman and now change her, because everybody loves Gal Gadot now, and they want to see her be Wonder Woman. So we're going to take her out of this world that Zack has created and now put her into this other kind of thing. I'm not saying that Zack has to have complete like final stamp of approval on everything. I'm just saying respect the universe that you take. For example, you know what it'd be like? It'd be like saying this movie is we're going to set a movie in the Richard Donner Superman universe, right? So we're going to set this movie in there, and then all of a sudden you got Ben Affleck's Batman coming through, killing everybody, and like everything. It'd be sweet. I would love it. But it would be weird. You know what I mean? Like it would stand out. It would stand out, right? It would not make a lot of sense. Or or like having other characters that like totally kind of undermine that world that was created. And so even though it'd be cool to see on some level for some fans, on other levels, it would be like, this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit the world that was created for these characters. So that's why I say, like, if you just want to do that, reboot the whole thing.
I think you're kind of right, but but I think DC especially lends itself, because the characters come from such different worlds. You've got Superman from Krypton, Wonder Woman from Themyscira, you've got Billy Batson in his, the Rock of Eternity. They all have very different worlds. It's very different from Marvel, because Marvel was created by essentially a couple of guys, Stan Lee and his partner and stuff like that. So they're all set in New York. The world is very ubiquitous. It's very same. But the worlds of DC are very vastly different. Batman's very, very noir. Superman comes from the city of the future. It's just like diametrically opposite kind of world. So I think there is place for directors to try and express the different worlds that they come from in DC. Like, have Zack Snyder have his own kind of like vision of how the world will be, and then have like, say, one person I want to actually shout out, because it's the one person I really wish, if you could do anything about Restore the Snyderverse, if you'd mention Rick Fumiyawa's Flash movie in future, I'd be really happy, because that movie I think sounded really dope, pun intended. But
yeah.
But yeah, he's, I think that you can have that. But what I would like to always keep from Snyder and Patty Jenkins, and I think in Shazam, and I think in Joker, I think those movies have a lot in common, and BVS as well, is that they're always, no matter what's going on, like, or what the how would you say, the larger than lifeness of the superhero that's being depicted, it's always grounded in something real, right? So even like Shazam is grounded in that foster family dynamic. It's like we're not living in a Marvel
I love
world.
Shazam, by the way. I love Shazam. I love Shazam. So, hey, look, if there's any film that I think can actually get away with doing what that movie did, it's Shazam, because Shazam is basically, Shazam is a kid who gets these powers. So I would have no problem with Shazam being a part of the Snyder you know,
I think it would be
and
great.
I love the fact that
I think it is.
oh
I
yeah,
don't think
I do too. I do too. I'm
but
just saying I have no problem. Like if they continue down the line and, you know, and this, you know, comes out more. I do want to say one thing.
Can I just just finish the point? Just because I want to ask you this, because I think there's a through line between something like Batman v Superman, Joker, Wonder Woman, Shazam, and BVS. I think those 5 movies, and now Justice League, those 5 movies all have something in common, which makes them such critical which makes them critical or commercial successes, right? And that is unlike Marvel, they set it in a universe that somewhat resembles our own, right? The dynamics, the technology, the society that's around them is the present society. Whereas Marvel, you have like hovercrafts going, you know, in the sky. You've got weird technology from that doesn't exist. It's clearly not our world.
Yeah.
These movies set it in our world, and they base it on like some kind of theme, you know, like the Joker, mental health issues, you know, Wonder Woman. It's quite dark in places, you know, like the where it shows like how much of a tragedy World War I is. So it has that much more impact when these larger than life superheroes do things in a world that resembles ours. I think it's just so much more engrossing and emotional, and nothing against what the MCU is doing. I think it's fun and whatever, but I think that's where DC should always, that's its identity, man, you know. And I think Zack Snyder had the right idea. I just don't like some of the ways he's executed it along the way, but I've always stood up for like putting them in a kind of more realistic, more grounded world, like at the very least, like, you know, that resembles ours in terms of where we are historically at the moment, you know. Do you understand what I mean?
No, I absolutely, man, absolutely, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate that's what you would like to see, and you know, and that's we're seeing, you know, and like, and as we said before, like, you know, I don't think anybody's going to be like 100% like this is the way I would have done it. This is the way that, you know, that I would have seen it. You know, this is what presented with. What the only thing that ever bothers me is people like who are just like, you know, who will attack Zach personally and say, you know, well, Zach's trash because he's not making the movie that I want. Zach's an idiot. Zach doesn't understand these characters. That one blows me away so much when they're like, Zach doesn't understand comics, and I'm like, come on. I mean, you can say a lot of things. You say a lot of things.
I wouldn't say he doesn't understand comics. I would say that the way he's presented certain characters, I put it this way, I just feel like Man of Steel, like even beyond just like wanting to see Superman, I think if a more traditional Superman was, and I need to be careful with my words when I say a more traditional Superman, because I know that presents an image of the Superman, you know, who, you know, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about like a Superman whose dad would encourage him to definitely not let kids die, or a Superman who would, where, you know, Clark Kent would say, you know, you've got to go out in the world, you've got to find out like what's happening with humanity, and then you can grow and become more of a person, rather than one who says, no, just stay on the farm, hide, you know, don't show anyone you're special. Well, I think if that Superman was in there with the morals and whatever that he has, the incorruptible Superman, even if it was more grounded and he had doubts.
I believe that Zach was working towards that, because he's even said that. Because he said, I was even working toward it. The thing about this Superman that's different is by the time this Superman gets there, he will have earned that, and he will have learned the lessons that got him there, instead of just like popping out with that, like that. Hey, I just popped out and I'm Superman, and I've got all these morals and I've got all these things. Because I'll be honest with you, you know what one of my favorite parts of Man of Steel is, and you just alluded to it, is when Clark says to his dad, well, what was I supposed to do? Just let them die? And Clark's dad gives him the most honest answer I have ever heard in a movie like that, because you know what? It's not the fluff. hey, with great, power comes great responsibility. Son, you've got to do all these things, right? Like, he doesn't do that. He doesn't give him the pat answer. He doesn't give him the motivational speech, right, that other dads give. And you know why I appreciate that? Because I'm a dad of 3 boys. And sometimes
you would tell your kid if he had powers that maybe
my
you
son,
should let a kid's die.
Listen to me. If I knew that my son was an alien that came from another planet, and that if my son exposed himself to the world by saving anybody, okay, and that I know what this world's like, that they would come and dissect him, tear him apart, study him, because our world would be absolutely afraid of that. Yeah. I'm not.
You wouldn't say I'm proud of you for saving those kids.
No, hold on.
You wouldn't say that.
No, hold on. Pa Kent never tells him that he should have let those kids die.
I didn't say that.
No, I know. But what I'm saying though is Pa Kent he never tells him that he's not proud of him for saving those kids. In fact, he tells him the opposite. He says, "Look, I'm happy that." He says, "But."
He doesn't say that. He said maybe.
I can't tell you.
He said you've got to be careful, Clark.
He says maybe, because he's being honest. He's being a dad who's looking out for his own son. I don't have to look out. Listen, I don't have to look out for your kids. Mm-hmm. If that's my son, and I know that he's an alien, and I know that if he's found that if the government found out that my 15-year-old boy picked up a bus and saved a bunch of kids, I may be very proud of the fact that he saved a bus full of kids. But in my head, my fear is for my son. And anybody who tells you anything different and just says, "Oh, hey, just go out and start saving people." Yes, go out and use those powers. Go out. Yes, you did the right thing. You should have absolutely done that. Anybody who says that is a liar. They are a liar. Or they're either a liar. Hold on, I just want to finish answering what your question was, because they're either a liar or they're too naive, and they would end up getting their son absolutely killed. They would get their son taken over by the government. The government wouldn't have to wait for a 33-year-old Superman to tell him that he lived in Kansas, because they would already know it. They'd be there. They would dissect him. They would tear that kid apart, rip him from the family, and that would be the end of the Superman movie in real life.
Okay, can I answer to that?
Yeah.
I'll answer to that. Pa Kent is supposed to be better than us. He's supposed to be better than real dad.
Why?
Let me answer.
Okay, but why?
Let me answer. I'm gonna answer that. Okay. I'm not saying that that in real life you wouldn't have doubts and trepidations about putting your child in such danger. I think there's better ways Pa Kent could have answered that to be more in line with the Pa Kents we've known in past. But my point is that if Superman landed at your door or my door, he would grow up to be, at least in my door, because I'm an asshole. Like if he landed at my door and I had to bring him up, hell yeah, Superman would probably end up being a dictator of the planet. But that's the beauty of him landing at the Kents. It was special because just by providence, he landed at the Kents, the all-American family that has the best of American values. And if he had landed anywhere else, that's the whole beauty of the Superman story. If he had landed anywhere else, if he had landed in some, other place in America, some, like in LA or like in, with some other family, the likelihood is Superman would have been a selfish prick. He landed at the best parents in the world. And that's the myth of Superman. And so that's why in the myth of Superman, the Kents have been better than us. Now, does that mean you can't have a different interpretation? I would say, yeah, you can, but make sure it's better than what's originally there. Because if it isn't better than what's originally there, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You could have just made him say, I don't know, but I'm proud of what you did, son. But you gotta be careful. or
He
something
tells him
along those lines.
throughout
But he
the
doesn't
entire
say that
throughout the
specifically
movie.
in the
Throughout
film.
the hold
not-
on.
In that particular situation, he doesn't say that.
Throughout the movie, he tells Clark that he's proud of him. Throughout the movie, he tells him that. He instills that in Clark throughout the film. You're talking about a specific moment where Clark did a specific thing where literally a family came to the house and said, "We know what we saw.
Right.
My child saw Clark do this, X, Y, Z. I don't care who Pa Kent is. Pa Kent is a man. Pa Kent, yes, I agree with you that yes, there is a certain value system that obviously that the Kents had, and that's part of the Superman mythos in the story. But that doesn't just come from nowhere, and no father is perfect, and no father will always give the exact right answer. I'm saying that when Clark asks him in that moment, he doesn't tell Clark, well, yeah, you should have let him die. He says, I don't know, because I don't know what the right answer is. He says, I don't know who you're going to become one day, Clark, but whoever it is that you become one day is going to change the world. And
you see what you just said there? You see what you just said there? That's a million times better than what was said in the film. He said maybe.
That's what he said.
He said maybe. That's what he says.
No,
he says maybe. You've got to be careful.
Okay, you spoke over what I said. He said,
okay, sorry.
So Clark asks him, he says, well, should I just let him die? He says, maybe. I don't know. But he goes on to tell him, Clark.
He doesn't say I don't know, though. Just to say, like, in textually, I understand that might be the subtext of what he's saying, but he doesn't actually say I don't know. But is that fair to say?
Do we need to go back and watch it like everybody thought?
If I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I'm just saying, do we need to go back and watch it and see exactly what he said? Maybe we can do that. Maybe we'll give you some homework, or maybe we'll do some homework for it and come back to this another time. But I'm just saying, like earlier, everybody was convinced. Everybody was convinced literally a couple hours ago, man.
I was wrong about that. So I might be wrong about this.
That Lois still said the "you smell good" line, and we know that didn't happen. So I'm just saying this. We all know what Paul was saying. He said maybe, but then he goes on to tell Clark, you are going to change the world. Whatever man you choose to become, he's telling Clark, you have to make those choices. Paul can't make those choices for him. He's telling Clark, he is actually preparing Clark to be his own man by telling him, you have to make those decisions. Me and your mom, we're raising you the best that we can. Okay. But in the end, look, there are no perfect parents. There are no, we can all look back at our parents and say, oh, you know, you hear the people who go, oh, my parents were awesome. They were fabulous. They always did it. But in reality, if you go back and ask those parents and you say, well, what was your key? Like, were you always confident that you were telling them the right thing? Nope. We were winging it, because that's what parents do. Parents wing it. Some do it better than others. Some make better choices than others. And you know what? And some, like for me and my kids, I'm there for my kids. My family is very tight knit. I know who my kids are, but I'm very honest with my kids too. Look, through this whole pandemic thing, my kids were coming to me, dude, and asking me questions, man, that I never thought I'd have to answer for my kids. And you know what? There were a couple of times where I had to be honest with my kids, and I had to say, I really don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
We're facing something that I've never faced before. And yeah, man, Pa Kent, he was absolutely facing that. He didn't tell Clark that he should just let those kids die. Okay. He was trying to steer Clark in the right direction. And if anything, he was telling Clark, you need to be careful. When Clark gets mad at the bullies and is going to go beat him, he says, what did you want to do? He's trying to take that out of Clark and get Clark to step away from all of that and step away from the powers and everything else and become a man regardless of all the powers.
That's a good scene, but that scene should have been after the bar or before the bar scene where that man throws a cup at him. I think it would have been more powerful if that scene was connected with that. But I was going to say that I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, right? But I want to just, can we agree that in some sense, Alfred in Batman Begins plays the same as or similar kind of parental role as Clark Kent in Man of Steel? Is that fair to say?
In Batman
Begins.
Probably. I mean, Alfred is a father figure to him.
Yeah, he's a kind of father figure in a kind of way, right, to Bruce Wayne. Now, Bruce Wayne comes up with, pun intended, the most batshit crazy fucking plan of all time to become he's gone off and trained and whatever, and he meets Alfred, this father figure of his, and he comes up with a crazy plan to become some master avenger of the night and probably get himself killed. No, but we can't think of it in that, because that's what would happen in real life. That's the reality of it, right? But this is a superhero movie, and it's about a hero's journey, and there's a particular thing that that figure, right, that fatherly figure or motherly figure in terms of Hippolyta or Antiope, there's a certain kind of thing that they're supposed to do, which is they're supposed to encourage the hero, and it makes them better characters for it. So when Alfred is, when Bruce Wayne comes up with this crazy suicidal plan that should essentially get him killed, Alfred nonetheless has to, guide him to becoming that hero, and always, make sure that he's staying morally upright even when he's going over the line. That's what the position of that character is supposed to be. And it's powerful when that's done right. And I think again, you can say Antiope with Wonder Woman. It's like Wonder Woman is going to get ever closer to going off to face Ares if she trains her and, whatever. But she's there to encourage her. It's really, she should just want Diana to just stay on the island as a little princess and don't, just be pampered by the Amazons. But no, I'm going to encourage you to be the hero. I can see it in you. That's what you want to do. And she encourages it. And I just think that kind of thing is just lacking a bit in Man of Steel. And it's, as I said, as a technical movie, I think it's so great. But I just think.
Well, I'll tell you, Nerd Man, where I feel you fall short on that. All right, and here it is, and we've gone now for an hour and 2 minutes. I am at 5 hours and 49 minutes in this stream. I'll just say this, and we'll agree that we'll pick this up another time. But I'll say this. I think that Double MJ has a good point here, and I think the problem is this is we as fans, we have the benefit of knowing where these characters end up. We have the benefit of knowing where a young Clark ends up one day. We have the benefit of knowing where a young Bruce Wayne ends up one day. But I would say this, in Batman Begins, yes, Alfred is that character, but then he's not, because then in many ways, Ra's al Ghul kind of takes over that and turns Bruce Wayne into a killing machine, into a well-oiled warrior, right? Yeah. That comes back to Gotham with a totally different outlook on everything. Yeah. And it's bent on revenge. Okay? It's absolutely bent on revenge. And it has nothing to do with Alfred's
in Batman Begins, when he comes back or before he goes off?
Well, he goes off.
Before he goes off, it's revenge. When he comes back, I don't think it's revenge.
Well, when he comes back, his whole thing is that's Batman's story. He's going to strike fear and terror into the hearts of criminals, and he's going to go after. He's going to cleanse Gotham basically of all those people, and that's why at the very end, he realizes it's not. What does he say? It's not what I.
Great line.
There's that great line, and I'm exhausted because it's literally 6:14 in the morning right now, and I've been up all night.
It's not what you do that. It's not what you do that.
That defines.
It's not what you. It's not what you are inside, but what you do that defines you, or something like that. Something like that, right? But he has to go on this huge journey that really has nothing to do with what Alfred has done. It's like he's had to experience all this himself and go from the point of being angry young man that, yes, Alfred tried to come alongside. But like one of the stories of Nolan's trilogy is Bruce
in many ways ignores Alfred and Alfred's pleas for Alfred when Alfred
In the
comes to him
last
and says,
movie.
yeah, well, like, because Alfred even goes to him and says, look, I buried 2 Waynes. I don't want to bury a third. It is not my wish to do this. If you want to go do this, you're going to have to go kill yourself, because I'm not going to stand back and just do this because Bruce is literally like, screw this. I'm just going to do whatever I want. Now, here's the thing with Clark's dad and with Pa Kent, and then I got to get going. But I think yeah, we put a lot on Pa Kent and a lot on these parents in these things, because the reality is like what Double MJ here says, Man of Steel is not about being a superhero movie. It's not at all. We agreed when we first started having this conversation that this is about putting Superman in the real world. Well, that is not just about putting Superman in the real world, but from beginning to end. It's not just about what we agreed on, that if an alien showed up tomorrow with all these godlike powers, that everybody would flip out and they wouldn't just go, hey, yeah, look at the guy in the big blue suit like they do in Superman the movie, right? And they're just like accepting and wanting an autograph, right?
Hey, Jim.
Right, exactly. We agreed with that part, right? But the thing is you can't have both. So if you're going to say, well, this is a real world application of how this would go, it's not just about when he shows up as Superman. It's also about what he is when he's a kid and how his parents react. And the reality is in that moment, Pa Kent is not condoning not doing something to help somebody. He's telling Clark that he has to be mindful of the decisions that he makes, of who he helps and how he helps, right? And to craft that in the right way, because if you just openly start doing stuff, son, you're going to draw attention to yourself that you're not ready for right now. Remember what Clark says? He says, my dad did not think that the world was ready for me. He says, but he knew that one day they would be, but I would be ready by the time that the world, he would hope that I would be ready by the time that the world found out what I could do, because the world wasn't ready for what I could do. Let me just finish because I'm on a thing. So, you know, that's what he even says is my dad. What's he tell Lois? He says, my dad believed that if the world knew what I could do, right, they would not understand me. They would. And so that's that's the thing is Pa Kent didn't know the answer to Clark's question because he's a dad and he's not perfect. And so, yes, I know we have this glorified version of what but we've seen that in every other thing, the perfect Pa Kent where Clark, you know, if Pa Kent's
we haven't
still
seen
alive,
it really since the 70s. I mean,
we have. Did you watch Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman? Both of Clark's parents were still alive.
Wait. I think when we're talking about on film, we're talking about a different thing.
I'm talking about all of it.
I love Lois and Clark.
I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about all of it, man. We've seen that though. We've seen that done.
No.
But like, we've never seen.
That's because Lois and Clark was actually quite big, but we're Superman fans, so we eat up all of the Superman, you know, kind of thing.
Sure.
But when it comes to film is the thing that is the most popular medium to put these characters out.
But man, we've
only
had one version. So let me just finish my thought here, because we've only because we've only had. It's not like we've had like it's not like Batman where we've had many different Batman.
Exactly.
Right, we've had Christopher Reeve, we've had Brandon Routh, who was a continuation of Christopher Reeve, and then we've had Henry Cavill. Okay, so the thing is, though, is if you look at the entire vernacular of Superman, right, and so because we only have those two, even if you only have those two, you have one that showed the dad who like has the pep talk, right, and then has a heart attack and dies, and then you show a dad who is a real. Those two movies are totally set in different types of worlds, where now you got a dad who is being realistic about it and is approaching it like a real dad in the real world, whose son was an alien and he was terrified for his son's well-being. But also, if you look at the grand scheme of Superman stories, all the cartoons, Lois and Clark, everywhere where Clark has his parents always give him these pep talks and he feels better and then he goes off. Like it's never really like that where Kevin Costner's character sits him down and says, look, son, I don't have all the answers for you. I can help you, guide you along. But see, Kevin Costner's Pa Kent realizes that this Clark is bigger than him, right? He's been given an opportunity to help shape him, but at the end of the day, Clark is going to have to make that decision of what kind of man he's going to be. And so that's why he's telling him, it's like, I don't know.
I don't mind that part. That's not the part.
So he's just being honest. He's just being honest, and he's letting him know what's at stake. Just like this comment says, he's letting him know what's at stake. That it's like, you know what, you could very well run out there and start saving people.
Yeah.
But you need to be careful that you understand what that means. Right?
Okay.
Because Clark is a kid saving that bus. He did not do that in a way where he was running out and doing it in a way that was cautious about what he was doing. He was only thinking, I need to save these people, so I'm just going to run out here and do it. Superman can save people, but it doesn't mean that he has to risk his entire, everybody around him, right? That's why he develops a new persona and a secret identity, so that it protects those that he loves, so that other people won't necessarily be.
I've got you, man. I understand fully what you're saying. All I'm going to say, because I know you've been on here for 5 hours and you know to get some rest. All I'm going to say to you is that I get all of that. And I'm not trying to say that, I understand how a film like Man of Steel was made, and that's not. But in terms of the, Park Kent, essentially, I think that you could have still had a little bit of both. I'm not saying that Park Kent should have been saying, put on a cape and become Superman. I'm just saying Park Kent should have instilled, you should have seen just scenes of him just instilling some of those values, some of those really, really great values into Superman. Okay, let me just finish.
I'm gonna go back and watch the movie.
I think we did it. I think we did a bit, but I think it could have just been a little bit more. But anyway, what I was going to say is, to finish it off on a very positive note, Justice League, right, gets all of that right to me. Every problem I've ever had with any of these things, I loved it when I heard the part. Well, God, I can't do spoilers. Park Kent in this movie is good. I really like him. But also I was going to say a shout out to Barry Allen's dad. In this movie, I was just almost, because I love the Flash. Flash is one of my favorite characters. I was almost in tears. I was like, that's him. So I just think you can have both, the best of both worlds. I think it's easier than you think, Enosh, to have, because it's done in this movie. He did it. It's the realistic dads who are just, and mothers who, again, Ray Fisher's mom, brilliant in this movie. All of them did their thing, and you saw that. He basically did it.
Okay. At the risk of everything, though, you talk about Ray Fisher, Cyborg, Victor Stone, right?
Yeah.
Silas Stone in this, shows a dad who's trying to do the right thing for his son, but in the process is like most parents. They're trying to do the best thing for their children, but sometimes they get caught up in trying to do the best thing for their children, and it actually detracts and takes away. And then it's like the parent who goes out and works to themselves to the bone to provide for their kids, which is a very noble thing and a very great thing. But then they get caught up in making the money and being able to provide the most extravagant things, and then they're actually absent from their children's lives, and so they don't have the connection with their kids. They've provided everything for their children, and they think that they're instilling these great things. But look at the relationship between Victor Stone and his dad Silas, where at the end, there's some things that happen. But the reality is that relationship as a whole is very rocky. And that's one of the things I love about Justice League, is that it actually fleshes out that story instead of Cyborg just being a pissed off guy because he can't go out and play football in the street. You know what I mean? Agree. He's 100% agree. It shows why he's frustrated with his dad and the mistakes that his dad's made, even in trying to protect him and save his life. It fleshes all that out. So we're on the same thing, man. So here's the funny thing, guys. Evil Chicken, I don't know what my record is. I have gone 6 hours. I used to do, when I first started doing these live overnight streams, all of my streams were 4 to 6 hours. So this is a return. But of course, back then I was doing these call-in shows all the time, and I have a hard time just telling people I'm done because I love having these nerd conversations.
I love it as well. And thank you for having me on. Thank you for having a conversation.
Man. Absolutely, man.
I hope we can. Yeah, I'd love to, talk to you again. Talk to you on my channel. It's not the biggest channel in the world, but I'd love to talk to you on it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And continue this debate. But I'd love to really talk about what we love as well. Like, I don't always want to talk about what we disagree about.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We both love this movie, so I'd love to just pick your brain on your favorite scenes, and
Oh, sure, man. Hey,
so
thank you for coming out. Thank you for reaching out, man. Thank you so much. Dude, I've enjoyed this conversation with you, and I'm glad that we had this time. And,
it was epic. You gave as good as you got, man. I love it.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You have a great night, Nerd Man.
Thank you.
And
Good night,
we'll
guys.
talk to you again soon. All right, buddy.
Bye-bye.